And brothers and sisters, we are finally back. We finally made it to another reaction, another one on this year Mystelics Reacts channel Saturday edition, brothers and sisters. You know, I don't tend to do Saturday videos like that, brothers and sisters, but you know what I do? You know, something is up, brothers and sisters. What is up? That is the question right there. But of course, big up. All of Mystelics, sorry for you tuned to another vibration. Big up on yourself one time. And of course, in the comments right there, big up on yourself as well for tuning into these here vibes. Yes, we're going to be talking about the number of interesting things right there, brothers and sisters. So don't forget to click the thumbs up button. I would appreciate that right there. And subscribe if you've not done so yet. Subscribe and turn on that post notification so you can get the latest vibrations when they do definitely tend to come through right there. Without further ado, let us, brothers and sisters, as I remind you of this sentiment that is going to be taking place on March 18th. Apparently, there's going to be two of them, from my understanding right there. They're hitting the streets to, of course, do what? Dominica, it's your right to stop the parliamentary ruling on 18th March 2025 right there. Hit the streets like you did for Carnival. Yes, brothers and sisters. If you guys see my aerial videos on the whole Carnival situation, you see the multiplication of individuals right there. I'm expecting to see even more than this. And I understand that a lot of foreigners come down and, you know, so forth and so forth. I understand that, brothers and sisters, but I think the whole of Dominica who's facing the circumstances that of which they will lose their ultimate freedom. True freedom, brothers and sisters, because the way you can express yourself truly is in elections. Now, if elections are rigged, out of your mind, brothers and sisters, what do you expect? What freedom is there to truly elect individuals who can actually do things for you and want to do things for you? It's very clear that the present regime right now is not doing anything for Dominica, and that of which they are enriching themselves to the point where a number of persons are actually agreeing with me on the basis that SKERRIT today is alleged to be a billionaire, brothers and sisters, on the merit of the very CBI, which of course we're going to be talking about here in this year reaction, brothers and sisters. But you need to show up in numbers. Show up in numbers right here, brothers and sisters. This is very interesting what is going on in the nature of the Caribbean, brothers and sisters. And of course the 19th as well. Operation Restore Hope, March 19th, 2025. Right there. Will you be there for that, brothers and sisters? Will you stand up? Hi. Now is the time to do so. You know why? Because there's something lurking, brothers and sisters. Something is indeed lurking. And I say lurking, brothers and sisters, on the merit of this sentiment that we see. Of course, I reacted to it a while ago, of course. And I agree on the merit that the United States should not touch Cuba and its association of the Caribbean. But apparently, America is saying, hey, we want you guys to side with us and our enemies, quote unquote. I don't know why Cuba is all your enemy, but hey, our enemies, quote unquote, should be all your enemies. This is kind of crazy right there on my thought process. And of course, US threatens to take away Caribbean leaders' visas for working with Cuba. I don't agree with that sentiment right there. I do, however, agree that they should take away the Caribbean leaders on the merit of the CBI passports, brothers and sisters, that of which we're going to be talking about right now. Draft legislation or draft list, brothers and sisters, of proposed travel ban of countries, brothers and sisters. And of course, it is coming. An internal Trump administration proposal list the following countries whose citizens could face restrictions on entering the US of A. Some countries may change in any final order. Now they have the red ban, brothers and sisters, or travel ban. These countries are completely banned. Okay, this is the draft, okay, keep in mind. But this is the complete ban right there. Afghanistan, a number of countries, even Cuba is associated to that. There are 6 Caribbean countries in that list right there, ranging in different color variations of restrictions. Of course, we have so you can see this stuff right there. Venezuela, of course, is there as well, and a number of countries. And then you have the orange restrictions, visas, sharply restricted. So they are sharply restricting giving visas to these individuals right there. And of course, that of which includes Haiti. Haiti is another Caribbean country in that regard. And then you see the other international communities right there. And then you have the yellow ones, brothers and sisters. They have 60 days to address some sort of concerns. What are the concerns? That of which relates to the Caribbean and the CBI program. And of course, we have Antigua and Barbuda. Of course, you can read the other stuff right there. But we have Antigua and Barbuda, pretty much just calling out the Caribbean countries. Antigua and Barbuda. Then next we have none other than the nature island of the Caribbean, Dominica. Not Dominica Republic, you know, Dominica Republic not there. So we have Dominica. Don't make a mistake on that. Dominica right there, brothers and sisters. Antigua, Dominica, St. Kitts and Nevis, and St. Lucia in that regard right here, brothers and sisters. Keep in mind, coupled with the whole court case that is taking place in finding out where the CBI monies has went, coupled with also the European Union saying, hey guys, all monies raised at CBI should come to the host country. So, brothers and sisters, it's going to be an interesting 2025. Now, Dominica has 60 days to do what? What is it that we are concerned about that Dominica has to address when it comes into the situation, as well as St. Lucia, St. Kitts, and Antigua and Barbuda? Now, brothers and sisters, keep in mind, I remember when the European Union, not the European Union, United Kingdom decided that they're going to remove visa-free access from Dominica for the citizens to enter into England. All right, we remember that right there. And I merit of these brothers and sisters, that was sole reason why, because Dominica was the outstanding one. Because they also decided that they want to remove others from St. Lucia, St. Kitts. And I remember they had the list of dates when they were going to remove it. Now, they removed Dominica first and forthwith. Keep in mind, they removed Dominica first. In fact, when they made that ruling the next day, Dominica, I think, was out of it. The Dominica was the very first one out of visa-free access. And so, interesting, I remember in December, because we were having talks with some St. Kitts and Nevis individuals, that they're going to lose their own sometime in November, December, on the merit of traveling certain places and whatnot, blah, blah, blah. But they did not end up losing it. Only Dominica was the one that was restricted. So I'm thinking maybe this might be the same sentiment right there. The same sentiment that has happened, that might happen to Dominica. They call other countries. Remember, this is a draft. But for sure, you know Dominica in problems. Dominica in problems. You know why? Because Dominica has been the most outstanding CBI agent when it comes down to selling passports to interesting persons. And you know this, brothers and sisters, we can think of Alison Maduke, we can think of Ali Reza Monfared, we can think of a number of them, brothers and sisters, that became Dominican diplomatic passports, diplomatic ambassadors. And of course, they were criminals in the country. So, apparently the United States is going to be tracking down, and keep in mind, brothers and sisters, this is not the first time, this is not out of the atmosphere. Biden, them was also looking into it, okay? So don't say, oh, Trump is this and blah, blah, blah. But apparently, Trump has taken it and has decided to take action on the merit of his individuals that are associated to this. And it's interesting, who you're going to find out is associated to this. Who is associated to this, brothers and sisters? Is it an ambassador of Dominica? Who knows? We will see what is going on right there. So, of course, according to this individual right there, so Dominica has 60 days to address concerns, whatever. Depending on our answer, they will place a travel ban on Dominicans, brothers and sisters. What does this mean? According to reports, recent reports, the Trump administration is concerning implementing a travel ban that could affect citizens from up to 43 countries. These countries are categorized into 3 groups based on the severity of the proposed restrictions. You know, red, Dominica is obviously in the yellow restriction. So we're going to get into that in a moment, brothers and sisters. Red list, countries whose citizens may face a full visa suspension, including Afghanistan, blah, blah, blah. You hear it. Orange list, countries that might experience partial visa suspension, affecting tourism, students, and other visas right there. So this includes a number of countries, including Haiti, and of course, Dominica is falling under the yellow list. Countries that have been given 60 days to address specific deficiencies. Failure to do so could result in partial or full visa suspension. Dominica is among the nations on this list, along with a number of other countries. Now, this person is saying, for Dominica being on the yellow list means the country has a 60-day window to rectify certain issues identified by the United States government, such as inadequate security practice. Keep in mind, listen very carefully, you know. Right. Such as inadequate security practices for issuing passports. The very situation involving the CBI is on that merit. Dominica has been the outstanding one when it comes down to issuing passports, brothers and sisters. And they find this very strange. Now, you might say, but brothers and sisters, but Mystelics, but America, how is America trying to put these kind of restrictions when CBI doesn't really, the issuing of CBI doesn't really affect America? Because America has visas. So it's one thing when you have people in the overseas country, in the Middle Eastern region, who say, okay, we want to buy a passport, and Dominicans are decided, hey, okay, we're going to give you passports, whether it's under the table or over or under the table, whichever it is, brother and sister, on what merit they're selling it, whether it's under selling or overselling, whichever merit, brothers and sisters, based on the kind of persons, especially if they're involved in criminal activities. I remember the list, man. I think I have the list on my other computer, where I had a lot of these individuals involved in crimes. Okay? Now, Dominica has been selling passports to individuals, and the United States is saying, hey guys, hold up. What if these people were coming into Dominica and then were able to use different names? That's one of the aspects. They come to Dominica. I think there's a certain amount of time where Dominica can actually change your name, and then these people whose countries have been restricted, who obtain Dominica passports, can then change their name and then go and get, visas to access right there. That is one aspect. The other aspect is actually utilizing the US currency. Okay? The US currency, this is one of the reasons why, keep in mind, when it comes down to the banking system, when Dominica and SKERRIT has admitted this to the people already, apparently people don't seem to be paying attention to this. SKERRIT has already admitted that the corresponding banks having issues with them on the merit that they are not able to track these monies or know where these monies are coming from. So apparently they don't want to have any affiliations with this. Of late, it's came to my understanding, well, allegedly, that the banks have decided to stop operations. Or I say alleged, not on the merit that is not true, but on the merit that, hey, certain things might be happening behind the scenes and we're not 100% certain in that regard right there. But they have decided to stop operations or stop accepting, because for the longest while, the corresponding banks have been asking, hey, we need you guys to clarify these monies. We need you guys to clarify these monies, to know where these monies coming from. Our currency, all exchanging, that is then coming into Dominica through the corresponding banks after they send it via wire transfer, whatever means that they're sending it. Especially when you have lots of monies coming in. They want to ensure that they are not participating in money laundering. Okay? Even though on the other aspect of USA, they have been participating in money laundering, but that's a whole other story right there. They have a right for their money, That's interesting, eh? But anyways, they decided, you know what? We don't want to be participating in any money laundering. We need to know exactly where this money is coming from. And it seems like there's not much transparency taking place when it comes on to that circumstance right there. And as a result of that, the corresponding banks are either pulling out or have pulled out already from the associations of MMCE and the Dominica government right there. Okay? So it's very interesting in that regard right there. Let's continue and see. Issuing passport for failure to share information about travelers. That is involved the very CBI program. Especially, I remember when England was trying to keep, it seems like Dominicans don't care. Dominicans don't care about this kind of things, because I remember when England was set out to try its best to see if it can keep the citizens who are actually born in Dominica to still have visa-free access to Europe, United Kingdom. And they found out that the very passports that were issuing made it difficult to associate who was actually who. And as a result, they had to put the whole ban on Dominica. Dominica is still the only country that has been banned when it comes down to the CBI countries. So when they put in these names out there, brothers and sisters, I don't think the other countries are going to be affected. They just want to associate, oh, it's not Dominica alone we're targeting. But remember, this is a draft. All right, brothers and sisters? No. If these countries are not addressed or have not addressed, if these concerns, are not addressed within the specific time frame, 60 days, Dominica could face travel restrictions, potentially limiting or suspending the issuance of certain visa types for its citizens. Very interesting stuff right there. Now, on the basis of this, brothers and sisters, they're trying to take away the visa-free visas for working with Cuba, with the leaders. But this one seems to be targeting the very citizens as a result of what? The decisions that your government, that you are elected. Boy, that is something else, that you elect. Brothers and sisters, this is what is happening to you. Remember in 2024, I said things are going to get worse, brothers and sisters? Sometimes some people feel like I associated. I just know what's going on. You might not know what's going on, but I am not ignorant to not know what's going on. This is why I keep talking about the European Union. And of course, keep in mind, like I indicated before earlier on, this has not been something that is recent, America has been following this from the very get-go. Even SKERRIT them admitted in Parliament that he's not a Maji with them. But apparently, they're showing SKERRIT who is the real Maji now. The real Maji. You want to do what you want. You're not putting the monies where the people are supposed to, and using their currency. Using United States currency to do your craziness, sir. Are you crazy? They must know. Therefore, they have been looking at this very strenuously and extensively for many years. It's kind of like when let me leave that there. When you don't act, you're just waiting to see what happens. You know, like when you have the FBI, brothers and sisters. I was gonna use a different example, but you have the FBI, and the FBI is just sitting there waiting to see who else they can catch. Remember the whole situation involving BVI? You remember that? And you're wondering what's going on. All of a sudden, you're seeing this thing pop up. You think it's by chance that happening? You think it's mistake? Not mistake, now, brothers and sisters. So this is the situation with Dominica right there. If these concerns are not addressed within the specific time frame, Dominica could face travel restrictions, potentially limiting or suspending the insurance of certain visa types. I remember an individual actually messaged me when I posted this stuff up. I said, problem in the Commonwealth, Mystelics wouldn't be affected. And I'm thinking to myself, due to the association of Dominica, there's a possibility even I might be affected. But I don't care, brothers and sisters. If I have to be affected for the greater good, let it be so. Let it be so, brothers and sisters. There's high-class corruption taking place in Dominica. I mean, the foreign individuals have to then step in to rescue Dominicans from their own doings. Oh, not necessarily own doings. Yes, their own doings. The reason why I say own doings, brothers and sisters, I understand some people say, I don't vote. I don't vote in. When thousands of you guys are saying, I don't vote, not vote in, and then you have foreigners coming in to tilt the scale. Just like what the Democratic Party was trying to do in the United States. Have all sorts of illegal people coming in and trying to put them in certain areas so that in the future, it'll just be Democratic run, especially flipping the flip states. Some of you have no idea what I'm talking about. Anyways, so that is the same sentiment that we tend to see in Dominica. And when you refuse to go and vote, where your freedom is truly lying. This is why I don't think, I'm not going to say a number of persons, I'm hoping that thousands of people show up on the 18th and the 19th. I'm hoping that thousands definitely do tend to show up, because it is kind of crazy to have that understanding right there, brothers and sisters. When you're seeing that your freedom is slipping away from the very elected person that is supposed to serve you, bro, then the foreigners have to come in and then put all sorts of restrictions. Look at what happened in the United Kingdom. When they put the United Kingdom, you know what was happening? They had a truck in Bath Estate playing music. Gas. Because they know the people like this. See, whoa. I remember Shaggy had a song, brothers and sisters. On a merit, I'm paraphrasing it, but a merit of who's gonna be there for you. Life is one big party when it's all done. Life is one big party when you're young. But who's gonna be there for you when it's all done? Huh? Who's gonna be there for you when it's all done? Some people live like the ant. No, a lot of people live like the grasshopper. They party and they see one, they bling, according to Kenty in his song. They party and they see one, they bling. Not true. And then when it's all done, when the party's over, they forget they have to go back into reality. Well, this is Dominica right there. We are facing now a global instance of Dominica being restricted massively because of the decisions of the very government. And the government now wants to pass electoral reform. And you mean to tell me you're not going to show up? You're not going to show up? You? Not going to show up? Okay. Don't show up. Don't show up. And then blame, and the interesting thing is the countries have to protect themselves, because I just mentioned two ways that they can do this. The foreigners, the Americans' enemies in countries where they put bans on these things, not for them to come into the country. And Dominica has the CBI program, whether I sell it above rate or below rate, who knows, you know. They can just say, okay, this is this, and then you try to account for the monies. No money is being accounted for, but these people getting the passports and so forth and so forth. So you have the people from Middle East and coming into the Caribbean, or nothing ever stepping foot in the Caribbean. They just obtain Dominica passports, and then about how much days, or not days or months or years, whichever, they can change their name. And when they change their name, they can then decide, hey, I want to get a visa, a US visa, and then, you know, bow. You see the person bank statement in Dominica where they transfer monies or whatever, they have it for you there. Because if it's a number of years, let's say it's 5 years, brothers and sisters, and you decide you set up your bank account and all those kind of things, your plan is for you to obtain a US visa so you can go to the United States. Huh? Your plan, you obtain that Dominica passport. You get that right there, brothers and sisters. Your name change, you'll have monies in Dominica bank, and you know, things are working well. You present bank statement and so forth, business, you set up business in Dominica, and you have that there for a while. You change your name, no affiliation to the country that you actually came for. Then you are able to obtain US visa, brothers and sisters. That's one of the ways that they can do it. Another way is the tracking of monies, which apparently that is one of Dominica's biggest issue because they cannot trace the money and therefore they don't want to be involved in money laundering. Interesting stuff right there. So the clarification, like I indicated before, 60 days. And of course, these deficiencies can include inadequate security practices for issuing passports. If a country lacks stringent measures in its passport issuance or sending out passport process, it may be easy for individuals to obtain fraudulent travel documents. Remember when Dominica, now remember when Annette actually brought that, Annette Sanford brought that up in Parliament on the basis that we've seen individuals in Pakistan selling Dominica passports. You remember? And I think it was for $20,000-$30,000. You can get your passports easy. And then they ask the government about these things, and the government want to pretend as these people didn't see these things. Can you imagine? The very government talking about transparency. Boy, you're talking about transparency, and everything that you do is not transparent. Yet still, because you say, people want to believe it. Brothers and sisters, not on the basis of saying things, no. It's the actions. We must look at the actions of people to know where they stand. My goodness gracious. Anyways, the insurance of pass process, Dominica also stated that it has the most robust due diligence process. It's very robust, so much that it has more criminal entities that obtain Dominica passports than any other countries combined. Dominica alone. Boy, Gaza, look trouble. Even the United States. People doing corruption in the United States obtain Dominica passports even this year or late last year. We're talking about the amount of people that have been doing certain things and they caught them with Dominica passports. May say, you think this thing will stop? No, they don't care, apparently. Yes, Lord. Failure to share information about incoming travelers. Countries that do not provide the U.S. with necessary information regarding travelers may hinder effective security screening. Selling citizenship to individuals from banned countries. Yes, banned countries. Right there. Some nations offer citizenship to individuals from countries already under U.S. travel bans. That is the main thing, I think, right there. And obviously, you know the situation of years passing and changing name and then them having the ability to obtain a U.S. Visa and then going to the United States. And sometimes these people can be dangerous. This is one of the reasons why. And I'll point out, I'm United Kingdom, you know, because United Kingdom, I think they restricted 2 individuals from coming in. They constantly were applying for visa to go to Europe, and they were denied consistently. They were always denied. Then they bought Dominica passports. Dominica had visa-free access that time, and then they flew into Europe. So although Europe don't want them to come into the country, they bought Dominica passports as a result of buying Dominica passports. Then they were able to fly into European Union. Now with America, it's a longer process on the basis of obtaining visas. You have to change, so forth. So, but it's still there. Okay? It's still there. Now, I want everybody to show up for this merit right there, brothers and sisters. You better show up for this, because the U.S. government will be watching. They'll be watching to see if Dominicans truly are against what is happening to them or they are just silent. They will be watching. They have been watching, but they will definitely be watching when it comes on to 18th and 19th. Keep that in mind, So I would urge you guys to show up. Okay. Now, brothers and sisters, remember Kepinski, brothers and sisters? You remember Kepinski? Okay, maybe not. You remember Intercontinental have nothing to do with this, Kepinski. But however, do you remember this guy? You remember this guy? You know who this guy is? This guy is Elon Musk. But we're not talking about Elon Musk or his son or the 2 ladies that day, brothers and sisters. No. We're not talking about these individuals. We're talking about the one that is to his left. No, that might be to your right. I don't know how the screen facing, but it's to my left right now, brothers and sisters. And this guy is known as Paolo Zampolli. You don't remember that name? No? Okay. Well, let me see if I can bring you back to that right there, brothers and sisters. Update. This is back in 2019. Just before the whole Rona hit. You have the Zampolli matter. More fuel of where the money gone? That is the question right there. Now, what is this? Let me scroll on a little so you guys can understand. This is the gathering of the crowd at the United Workers' Party meeting. $1 billion meeting right there. Quite a number of individuals. I was there. I remember this. I was definitely there. Right there, brothers and sisters. Now, this individual on the same article, if you want this article, this is actually in Dominica News Online. Just type in Zampolli. Just type in Paolo Zampolli. Just type that in right there, brothers and sisters. And there's something interesting in that article that you will definitely see. Now, with the news that Dominica diplomat at the UN Ambassador Paolo Zampolli has gone to court in the United States in an effort to secure his share of a CBI funded hotel project in the nature of the Caribbean, Dominica, brothers and sisters. Linton and others in his party are raising more questions about who really are the real benefactors or beneficiaries of Dominica's CBI funds. Those new questions are expected to be part of the agenda of Friday night billionaire meeting. Just to give you like, that's the same Zampolli, okay, brothers? That's the same Zampolli, that's him right there, Zampolli. All right. So it's interesting, brothers. You see his name, Paolo Zampolli. All right, now, brothers and sisters, what am I talking about right there? We're talking about Kepinski. The fact that we know them in the Zampolli matter, Paolo Zampolli himself admitted, I don't know if he was a real ambassador on Jamaica, but self-admitted ambassador, maybe he bought a diplomat, I don't know. Maybe he was given a diplomatic passport. Paolo Zampolli, a self-admitted ambassador for Dominica at the United Nations and a U.S. citizen whose primary business is real estate, has filed a petition in New York, in a New York court, to obtain discovery in an arbitration matter involving the Dominica CBI-funded Kepinski branded hotel project known as CRACKDOWN Resort and Spa Kepinski, Dominica. Now remember, brothers and sisters, we spoke about two individuals in the very CBI situation who got, I think it's $30 million US each. So that's about $60 million. Two individuals. The question was asked there, who is the real benefactors right there? Two of them. Now, Paolo Zampolli was the third one. He was also involved in the CBI and as a result of that filed a matter in the court in the United States, New York. So you can get his share of the money. He's the third one right there. Paolo Zampolli. He got his money. I think he got about $14 million or something of that sort. $14 million in this whole understanding right there. So he was the third one. So that's about 74, ranging around 74, give or take more or less, $1 million that has left Dominica on the basis of the very Kepinski Hotel. Now, I did a video the other day, brothers and sisters. It's not called Intercontinental because apparently Kepinski couldn't, handle it, It didn't make sense. It wasn't viable. Just like we're talking about the United Airlines, we're talking about the viability factor of operating in Dominica. Okay. Now, Kepinski left and now we have Intercontinental Resort right there. Now, brothers and sisters, on that same merit, when you look at what is taking place in Dominica, you have to ask yourself, but why is these things happening? Why? Why he get his monies and these two people get their monies and you're looking at the benefactors who is benefiting from Dominica and then you're looking at what the tourists have to say. There's nothing that is actually happening. People are happy, not necessarily happy, but they're talking about in the middle of tourism season, you find the hotels are empty, almost empty. It's like each couple, he said there was about 10 couples there. I guess they met, to show how much people was there. And hey, there are plenty of people there, man. No. And look at the size of the place. It's like each couple had their own building section. And the guy came and spoke about it. This is why a number of persons are saying Kepinski was a money laundering thing. They build these hotels. They make you feel like a number of persons are going to be coming in. Woo, yay, wonderful. Intercontinental is here now. When the tourists came and put out that video, I did the reaction of it. You can check it out a bit later on, or just go in my videos, you'll check it out. Or if you want, ask me for it, I'll post it under your comment for you when I check the comments right there. 24 hours, brothers and sisters, you have to write comment for me to read them. Because if you're writing afterwards, sometimes I will check it based off my comments and stuff, but make sure you write between 12 to 24 hours. That would be the key right there. Because then again, most likely I'm making another video and then to check the other. So anyways, definitely do so if you want that link right there. So individual tourists come in and say, hey, we're not seeing much people. What's going on? In the height of tourism industry in Dominica, don't you think there's some sort of money laundering going on? And talking about the international airport, brothers and sisters, that we're building. In move from, I look at I have the documents, brothers and sisters. I have it. It was sent to me. It was less than $300 million to build the international airport. We on 1.3 or 1.6 billion dollars now. Now I don't know if they included all the housing, and this kind of things that they forgive people for their land and so forth and so forth, and then building. I don't know if they include in all that in it, but it moved, brothers and sisters, from 1.1 to 1.6. Why? So proper estimation wasn't done. Still to this day, people have not received monies for their thing. Anyway, brothers and sisters, that's not the point that I'm trying to raise right there. He, of course, was one of the individuals who got their share from Kempinski. Had to take them to court for that. Now, lo and behold, brothers and sisters, bow. Donald Trump has indicated right there, I think this is on Truth Social or wherever he has posted this. I am pleased to announce, and Paul actually posted this on this thing. I went to see if this was true, and he actually posted it on his I think it's on his Instagram. So Donald Trump is saying, I'm pleased to announce that I am appointing Paolo Zampolli as special envoy for global partnerships. With his extensive experience working with the United Nations, the Kennedy Center, and various international initiatives, Paolo will help us advance American interests on a global stage. Congratulations, Paolo. So this is why you see him with Elon and the rest of the folks right there. So the question here is, did Zampolli, facing the kind of hardship that he was facing when it comes down to his share of the CBI program, and knowing what was taking place with the CBI program, was he one of the individuals that sold out Dominica? Now keep in mind, America has been following Dominica for quite some time. Europe has been following Dominica for quite some time. They realize, okay, we have reached a limit where individuals can come in visa-free. Even though we restrict these individuals, we should have the right to prevent people with known interests or certain interests from coming into our country. We have to protect ourselves. That's what they see. America most likely is doing the same because they realize there's a track in how individuals from the Middle East can then obtain Dominica passports or Caribbean passports and then make a tract. I don't know how the other Caribbean islands are doing it, but I know for sure that in Dominica you can eventually change your name right there. You can eventually do so. But when you do so, most likely the track only ends when you are in Dominica. But then I think, is the place of birth, is there something called a place of birth though? Isn't that written on the passports or something? I think so. But anyways, America's decided, hey, you guys can, and especially when they say you're born in Dominica. That's an interesting one right there. Anyways, guys, what are your thoughts on this whole situation? I think it was Zampolli that helped push this agenda right there. And keep in mind, all you want to talk about Trump, and Trump is not Trump. Biden has been, you guys can go and Google it. Google can be your best friend, Google the situation with Biden. Biden also had certain individuals looking into the CBI program. There are certain individuals looking into the CBI program. Trump, however, is one of the individuals that actually taking action. Took action. We need to clarify these things. Especially when the corresponding banks are pulling out of Dominica. There have been offshore banks. They are you don't even know these things. You guys don't even know these things. There are offshore banks in Dominica. Well, there were some reports that came out, so some of you guys might know what I'm talking about right there. There have been a lot of banks in Dominica that were not accessible to the very citizens. They were accessible to foreigners because foreigners were sending their monies offshore and whatnot. Dominica was the offshore bank and so forth and so forth. And then some of these offshore, if not all, but some of them had to pull out. I'm sure a lot of you guys have no idea about these things. They had to pull out because the corresponding banks were not transferring monies back to Dominica. So it's not just CBI. Gaza is a whole kind of... So the question here, brothers and sisters, on the merit of this, will you show up? Will you show up to these brothers and sisters? That is the question right there. Will you show up? Will you, Dominicans? If you don't want to show up, that's your business. That's your business. I myself, if this affects me, then c'est la vie. I'm not really going to be affected anyways. But if it affects me, c'est la vie. Sometimes, brothers and sisters, when you warn people about certain things happening, you warn people about certain things happening, and you're telling folks, hey guys, this is going to happen, and people are just waiting for it to happen, finally happen before they do something about it. And sometimes when they finally decide to do something about it, it's already too late, or the damage has already been done. Well, according to this, Dominica has 60 days, 60 days. And the government not just going to sell out itself. It's not going to do. Why would the government do that? The government will be fighting tooth and nail to ensure that it never end up in no problems whatsoever. Other people have taken the fall. Remember Lauren Bannis? She took the fall. Bro, some of all you just, I don't know. And then people say, oh, they're waiting for somebody else to do it. They're waiting for others to come and show up so they can find freedom. Remember like the bus drivers? Remember all the kind of fiasco that was happening with the bus drivers? Protesting for the right to have betterment for themselves in the country. And it seems like only the bus drivers have got betterment, brothers and sisters, because when you have to pay more for bus, you have to pay more for bus, and your salary don't increase, bus drivers get their increase. But it's interesting when you look at what was happening during that time. Bus drivers were protesting against bus drivers. Bus drivers were fighting against bus drivers. And when the government finally said, okay, all you think, okay, let me give up. The very bus drivers protesting against the bus drivers were the first in line to try to ensure that, hey, what? All you fight? What? I bus driver told you guys, let me go for my share. I go in 6 a.m. to ensure that I there. Place opening 8 o'clock, 6 a.m. I there. To ensure that they get their court after fighting the very bus drivers. The same situation. Dominicans waiting for somebody else to do it for them. So they can finally elevate when the victory is finally those who are fighting, brothers and sisters. And keep in mind, those who are fighting don't mind the other people, you know. Because they're not doing it for themselves, they're doing it for everybody. But then you're supposed to join in. Unify with them on the effort. No. Dominicans will say, you know what, let me stay quiet. Let me wait for this to happen or that to happen. Because I don't want to lose my job. I don't want to. Brothers and sisters, sometimes we have to forget about self. We have to forget about self, brothers and sisters. And look towards the mark and say, hey, at least, if not in my generation, but my future. But some of you don't make children, so you don't care. You don't care at all. Anyways, brothers and sisters, this is already too long for Saturday reaction. I thought myself it's about 10-15 minutes. I gotta say, this is crazy. Right there, but I have to get into it. Right here, brothers and sisters. Dominican problems. I don't think the other Caribbean islands are in much problem as Dominica. But we know Dominica is the #1 culprit. And it's interesting that St. Lucia has decided to ban with Dominica. Well, St. Lucia, you might end up in that same predicament. And also, keep in mind, European Union is also watching. They have been given a number of chances over and over and over. Over and over and over, brothers and sisters. It's interesting what is going on, brothers. It's going to be an interesting, somebody told me it's going to be an interesting week. I tell them, yeah, it might be an interesting week, especially when it comes down to this situation where you have to go and show up in numbers. Thousands, I'm expecting to at least 15,000 people there. At least. Don't give me 200, 300, 400. Nonsense you're talking. If there's 200, 300 people, God say when 2 or 3 are gathered. Okay, great. My own personal point of view, if 200, 300 people come up, show up there, nah, man, Dominica deserve what it should be getting. But then again, it does take a few to make a change sometimes. But in this case, brothers and sisters, it's going to take a lot, And the U.S. government is going to be watching diligently about what is taking place in Dominica when it comes down to these dates. Right there. Are you for the government or against the government? If you're against the government, you need to show up. Later, all you in charge of unions, you need to get the people them ready to organize so they can come and show SKERRIT that it's not his business that day, it's the people's business. If the people allow electoral reform on SKERRIT's part to pass, well, they have the majority, you know that. They have the majority. And keep in mind, if the people themselves want to say, okay, I'm going to vote against this, they pay them. They pay them to go. But they don't realize, even after government, they have to live in the same country. They forget. Boy. Yes, sir. Well, but they might be saying, well, I on their side there, so I good. I get my money. I get in different things. I get to build this and that. My debt's getting paid. I'm not calling him Mr. Speaker name. My debt's getting paid and so forth and so forth. So I don't have to worry much. Not true? Question here is, what would be the price that people would pay? What would be the price? What is your price? Interesting. Anyways, brothers and sisters, these are just my rant right there. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think Dominica is in trouble? Do you think Nothing too serious. All right. Anyways, brothers and sisters, leave your thoughts in the comment box below. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, if you understand it, click the thumbs up button, click the like button. I would appreciate that. And of course, subscribe if you've not done so yet. Subscribe, click the post, click subscribe, click the bell, and then click all, so you'll be notified when I upload and post my videos. By the way, it's about Mystelics once again, guys. Be real if you're interested in the comments. If you're interested in contents, that is. Be real, brothers and sisters. Salute the king always. Do enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Be positive.